The St. Kitts Nevis Information Service is pleased to present Current Speeches. In this edition of Current Speeches, we hear from the head of the Civil Service, Mr. Elvis Newton, as he outlined for civil servants elements of the St. Kitts and Nevis Civil Service Modernization Plan 2012-2016. Mr. Newton presented his remarks during a series of recently held health benefits briefings for the civil service. Mr. Newton's remarks is about 15 minutes.
I want to welcome you to this session. Why are we here? The ministries of the Prime Minister Office, specifically the Human Resource Management Department, as well as the Ministry of Finance, have been engaging over time in several activities intended to modernize, reform the public service. We have taken a deliberate decision to communicate the results of the initiatives to all public officers, because the intention is really to reduce the deficit in the exchange of information between or amongst the various stakeholders. Far too often in the public service, we complain that we do not have adequate information, and we are not in a position to participate. We're not in a position to make informed decisions about our work. And so, as a deliberate policy going forward, the Human Resource Management Department, the Office of the Prime Minister, as well as the Ministry of Finance will engage all levels of public officers on a regular basis so that you are aware of what is happening and you are aware of many of the things, several of the things which impact your functioning. As I said, we have been engaging in a series of activities which are intended to improve the whole ethos of the public service, because persons throughout the country keep complaining that we are not responsive, that we are not necessarily efficient in what it is that we're doing, and that the services that are provided by government are not necessarily consistent with the expectations. From my point of view, some information that is being presented by the general public may not reflect accurately the truth. But if people have a concern, we have to address the concern. And so we have been endeavoring to address those concerns. We have taken several initiatives over the past months to begin to address the concern. Before last year, the public service, the entire public service was loosely managed by a set of general orders. Some of us have been in the public service for more than 20 years, and we have never seen the general orders except in instances where we have transgressed against some regulation. And in those instances, we only are privy to the particular section that we were thought to transgress. We have sought through legislative measures to begin to address those issues. And so the principal piece of legislation which will guide our functioning is the Public Service Act, number 19 of 2011. It has been gazetted and it will be made available to all public officers. It's the Public Service Act, number 19 of 2011. And the act results from broad-based consultations. It is really intended to provide structure, organization, and management of the public service for matters relating to the Public Service Commission, for the appointment, discipline, and removal of public officers, and for related or incidental matters. This is the document which would guide the functioning of the public service. However, it is not sufficient just to have this document. And so what we have been doing and what would be available very shortly is a series of 6 pieces of regulation. And the regulations will support the Act. And so therefore, we are in the process of completing the regulations which benefited from some consultations with public officers. Every officer in the public service will have access to the regulations. So there will be no doubt about what the requirements are in relation to discipline, what the requirements are in relation to appointments, the requirements in relation to training. Whatever the issues are, they will be addressed in a very transparent. The public service legislation speaks to the management of the public service through a committee established comprising of all permanent secretaries. And we have begun to function. We have regular meetings once per month, during which we look at all issues relevant to the functioning of the public service. And the intention really is to ensure that that information is cascaded. So going forward, you will have access to the public service law. You will have access also to the regulations. That is the issue in relation to the regulatory and legislative framework. For a number of years, the government has been talking about public sector reform, public sector modernization. We have done several fragmented projects. However, last year, the Ministry of Finance, Human Resource Management Department, Sustainable Development presented to Cabinet for the first time a plan which incorporates several aspects of the reform. Again, this plan will be made available, and it was developed from the benefit of consultations. The plan is entitled St. Kitts and Nevis Public Service Modernization Plan, 2012-2016. And just briefly, I just want to identify for you the salient components of that plan, and of course the objectives. The objectives of the plan are to assist the government of St. Kitts and Nevis to modernize its public service with a view of enhancing capacity in state institutions. The plan also aims to increase efficiency and effectiveness of the delivery of service. It is intended to strengthen public sector management, improve government of St. Kitts and Nevis' capacity to facilitate the development of St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course it is intended also to improve governance and accountability. And the area of focus during the years 2012 to 2016 are defined as follows: human resource development, all the issues related to human resources, organizational and structural modernization, leadership development, succession planning, vision, mission, values of a modernized public service, legislative regulatory modernization, wage policy and payroll management, financial management reform, alternative modalities for service deliveries, technology and infrastructure. Those are the areas of focus. And we intend to focus on those in a very direct and integrated way. And we intend also to ensure the involvement of all public officers And so what we are doing and what we have done is to establish a number of work teams comprising permanent secretaries as well as technical officers. Where the requisite resources and the capacity reside in the public service, we will do the work. Where we have to access consultancy services, we will access the consultancy services so that the entire process is completed by 2016. The intention really is to ensure that at the end of the process, those of us who remain in the public service after 2016 would experience a marked difference in how it is that we function in the public service. The idea is also to ensure that we receive criticisms from persons who work in the public service, but also more importantly, to identify solutions. Far too often in the public service, everybody could identify a problem, but all of us cannot identify and put forward practical solutions. And so the reforms are about ensuring that we critique what ails us, but we also identify practical solutions going forward so that we are in a better position to serve the interests of the entire country. That is what the intention really is in relation to that. So this is what we are doing going forward. In addition to that, we have done some work on the changes in relation to the insurance. All government employees are now the beneficiaries of an enhanced package of services through the insurance. And that is one of the purposes of this exercise, to ensure that we engage in a process of re-registration so that persons are in a better position to benefit from the services that we would have renegotiated with National. We have to make specific and deliberate decisions in relation to how we move forward. It cannot be business as usual in the public service. All aspects of the public service require urgent attention, and we intend to tackle the issues in a very holistic and comprehensive manner, so that at the end of the day, we are all in a better position to benefit in the areas that we work.